نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. كتاب الرقاق باب الصحة والفراغ ولا عيش إلا عيش الآخرة. وبه قال أخبرنا المكي بن إبراهيم قال أخبرنا عبد الله بن سعيد هو ابن أبي هند عن أبيه عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس الصحة والفراغ. وقال عباس العنبري قال حدثنا صفوان بن عيسى عن عبد الله بن سعيد ابن أبي هند عن أبيه سمعت ابن عباس عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مثله. وعن أنس عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال اللهم لا عيش إلا عيش الآخرة فأصلح الأنصار والمهاجرة. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد عدد ما ذكره الذاكرون وصل على سيدنا مولانا محمد عدد ما غفل عن ذكره الغافلون. اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد أفضل صلواتك بعدد معلوماتك. As I promised last Saturday was the last session of the series of etiquettes of masjid. And alhamdulillah, we learned many things in that chapter through that series of talks. Today, inshallah, we will begin a new chapter which is called Kitab al-Riqaq. This chapter is mentioned in almost every single book of hadith. Sometimes it is mentioned by the name of Kitab al-Zuhd. Sometimes it is mentioned by the name of Kitab al-Raqa'iq. Sometimes it is mentioned by the name of Kitab al-Riqaq, and sometimes it is mentioned by both words, Kitab al-Zuhd wal-Raqa'iq. Every book of hadith has this chapter. So what does it really mean, and why is it so important that every book has it? The meaning of riqaq is softness. So in this chapter, the muhaddithin mention those ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam which will create in your heart softness, tenderness. And the soft heart is the opposite of the hard heart. When your heart becomes hard, then it doesn't cry anymore. It doesn't weep anymore. It has no love for Allah or other people. And when your heart becomes soft, then you cry for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You become kind, you become merciful, you become passionate. So all of these things are a result of a soft heart and qualities of a soft heart. And the hard heart is something that no true believer would have. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has made so many statements that go through your heart and make you realize that the true love is your love for Allah. And the true mercy in your heart is the mercy that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the true kindness is the kindness that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now all of us, this life is a journey which takes us through all these ups and downs. Now, these ups and downs can either make us very strong and very hard-hearted, or they can make us very weak. Both are a form of deviation from the true practice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The true practice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to sail between these two extremes of life, these ups and downs of our life. And in our religion as well, there is one side which teaches us to fear Allah. So there is khawf. And there is one side which gives us so much hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now if someone develops so much fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he forgets about this world, he forgets about his family, he forgets about his wife, he forgets about his children, he forgets about his parents, he forgets about everyone, that's also wrong. Although he's doing all of that as a result of that fear in his heart for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he has gone too far. That is extreme. That kind of fear of Allah is not sought. On the other hand, there are Quranic ayat and there are ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam which may give you so much hope in Allah, in His forgiveness, in His mercy, that you may totally disregard the attributes of Allah being the punisher, that Allah also punishes people. And Allah also holds people accountable. So if you go that far in building that hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will also go away from the true path. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wants the believers to walk in between these two extremes. The one extreme of having too much hope in Allah, and one extreme of having too much fear in Allah. And this book, this chapter, which is mentioned in every book, actually helps the believers in achieving that quality, to develop this mildness and develop this tenderness in the heart that will bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that will help us sail through these waves of up and down in the journey of our life. So inshallah, today we will continue from this chapter, and as we move on, you will realize we will come through the life incidents of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that will really invoke this sense of gratitude in our heart and make us realize how much we have to do to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even though he knew Allah more than anyone else, he loved Allah more than anyone else, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also loved him. But if you look at his lifestyle is not the lifestyle of a king. His lifestyle is not the lifestyle of a wealthy, rich person. His lifestyle is the lifestyle of a poor person, of a very, very simple person. And that has many lessons for each and every single one of us. So Islam doesn't teach us to abandon the luxuries of life, but at the same time, it also teaches us that you should not indulge too deeply into the luxuries of life. Because if you totally abandon the luxuries of life and the people who are around you, you will be violating their rights. And you'll be violating your own rights. So this monasticism is not allowed in Islam. Rahbaniyya. And the other thing is indulging too much in luxuries. That is also a cause of ghafla. That is also a cause of heedlessness. So when a person goes too far in the dunya, in the luxuries of dunya, and in the attractions of this world, again, he loses the purpose of this life. Why he was born, why he was created, what is the purpose of his time in this life, and what is the purpose of his entire creation. So, the first chapter is Babu Sihhati wal Faragh. The chapter about the health and the freedom of time. وَلَا عَيْشَ إِلَّا عَيْشُ الْآخِرَةِ. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in one hadith that the true life is the life of hereafter. So the Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi has created this heading made out of two sentences. One is as-sihha wal faragh, the ni'mah, the beauty and the favor of health, good health, and the freedom of time. And the second thing is wala aisha illa aishul akhirah. The true life is the life of hereafter. So the life that we are spending in this life is not really true life because it has an end to it. And a life that ends is not really a true life because whether it is good or bad, it will come to an end. Let me get the other mic. The hadith is narrated by Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma. He says that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Ni'matani maghbunun fihima kathirun min al-nas." There are two favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, two ni'mas of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about which most people are in deceit. So most people don't value those favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and don't really know too much, don't really care about them. As-sihha wal faragh. Two words Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to describe these two great favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that most people are in deceit of. The first one is health. And the other one is faragh, the freedom of time. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was given the miracle of speech as well. He used to say very few words, but the words were so meaningful that if one could understand those words, he could have a successful life in this world and a successful life in the hereafter. And this hadith is one of those speeches of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of those statements of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that if you truly understand the meaning, you would realize that you can have a very successful life in this world and a very successful akhirah. Because the akhirah is dependent on your life in this world. If you did good things in this world, you will have a good life in the hereafter. If you did bad things in this world, then your end in akhirah is not so certain. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam counted two things: the health and the freedom of time, free time. And these are the two things that people, when they have it, they don't care about it. They don't have much value for it. If you are enjoying good health, you don't really pay attention to all the negative sides and all the negative effects of those people who don't enjoy the good health. And one of the ways in which you can make yourself realize the value of a ni'mah, the value of a favor, and the value of a grant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is by comparing it to the worst situation. So if you're enjoying the good health, compare yourself with those who are not enjoying the good health. Alhamdulillah, you don't have any disease in your body. You're not suffering from any illness. You're not suffering from any pains. You have both eyes. You have good eyesight. Your hands work fine. Your ears work fine. You can listen to everything. You can smell everything. You can taste everything. Everything is working fine in your body, the way it should be working. And that puts you in illusion. So what happens? You think everything is normal, so you take it for granted. You don't compare it to those who don't have it. Compare your eyes to those who don't have it. Compare your hearing power to those who don't have it, who cannot hear anything. Compare your tasting power to those who cannot taste anything. Compare your speech to those who cannot speak. Compare your feet to those who cannot walk. Compare your hands to those who do not have hands. All of these things, they are a form of a great favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we fail to realize because we take it for granted. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, these two things are those about which most people are in delusion and most people are in deceit. Because you only realize the importance and the value of a ni'mah when it is gone. When your ear starts aching, or your tooth starts aching, or your stomach starts aching, or your feet starts aching, at that time you realize the time in which you did not have any pain. The time in which you were all in comfort. At that time, it makes you remember and it makes you reflect upon the good times that you were enjoying. Only when you have lost it. So in Arabic, there is a saying. It is said, "An-ni'matu tutaqaddaru bizawaliha." That the ni'mah is only realized. The value of a ni'mah is only realized when it is gone. You only realize the value once it is gone. As long as you have it, you don't care about it. You think you deserve it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that in Quran as well about the human being. That if he is getting everything from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the ni'mah, he says, it is for me and I deserve it. And once it is gone, he starts wailing, he starts crying, he starts complaining that, oh, why did it happen to me? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, as-sihha wal faragh, the health and the free time are the two ni'mas of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala which most people don't care about, which most people are in illusion of. That's because these things come free. Your health comes free. We don't pay a premium to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for enjoying the good health. And the free time is also a ni'mah that we don't pay for. In this world, and especially in this culture, we have value for things that we pay for. We will have value for the car because we pay for it. We will have value for the house because we paid for it. We will have value for other things that we have paid for. But we will not have value for the things that we never paid for. So the freedom of time and the good health that we enjoy, we don't care about it and we don't take the value because we never paid for it. Remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can take those things back as well. And these are the two things which don't last forever. If you're enjoying good health today, you may not be enjoying it tomorrow. If you have freedom of time today, you may not have it tomorrow. So enjoy it and benefit from it as long as you have it, before you have lost it. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is trying to draw our attention to the importance of these two things, that your freedom of time and your good health, don't waste it. And very few people get to have these two things together at the same time. If you have good health, you may not have good time. If you have good time, you may not have good health. Normally, when people retire, they have all the time in their house because they don't have a job anymore. So they're not worried from that side anymore. But you retire only after you reach the age of 65 or 70 or 75. At that time, your health is not as good as it was when you were 45 or when you were 35. And when you were 35 or 45, your job, you had a full-time job and you had all other engagements, you had all other issues, so you didn't have freedom of time. So when you had good health, you didn't have freedom of time, and when you have freedom of time, you don't have good health. So if you are one of those people who are enjoying both of these ni'mas of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and benefit from it. Do the good things that will benefit you in this world and will benefit you in the hereafter. If you haven't performed Hajj and you have good health and you can have good time, you can have freedom of time, go for Hajj. Because when you have grown old, performing Hajj will not be easy for you. Performing even Umrah will not be easy for you. This is why the scholars say that if you have the means to perform Hajj when you're young, then do it. Don't wait to become 65 or 75 and then go for Hajj. Normally, this is what people do. People wait. They say, I will perform Hajj after I retire or after I turn 70. First of all, who knows whether you will turn 70 or not? Second, if you did turn 70 and you went for Hajj, will you have all the strength that you really need to perform Hajj properly? There's a lot of walking in Hajj. There's even running in Hajj and Umrah. And there's a lot of movement in Hajj and Umrah. So for old people, it's not easy. But for young people, it is much more easier compared to the old people. So if you have not done the Hajj, you should do it. You never know whether you would have the health that you need to perform Hajj and Umrah when you grow old. The next hadith is narrated by Anas bin Malik radiyallahu anhu. He says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allahumma la aisha illa aishul akhirah, fa aslih al ansara wal muhajira. Oh Allah, the true life is the life of hereafter. So, oh Allah, make the affairs of Ansar and Muhajirin better for them. Fix the affairs of Ansar and Muhajirin. What is the purpose of this hadith and when was it said? It was said when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was digging that trench. At the time of the Battle of Trench, it was decided that Muslims will dig a trench around the city of Medina, so the kuffar, the invaders, they will not be able to enter the city of Medina. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when this order was being carried out, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself was fully involved in digging the trench. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was digging the trench, and the Sahaba were also digging the trench, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw the condition, the health condition, and it was extremely hot, and it was a lot of work. The manpower was very little. There were very few men who were supposed to do a lot of work. So it was a lot of work and very few people who were doing it with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who were supporting Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Sahaba who were doing it, they were either Ansar or Muhajirin. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made this dua for them, and he reminded them that this life and the struggle of this life is temporary life. The real life is the life of the hereafter. The real joy and the real pleasure is also the pleasure of akhirah. The pleasure of this world is temporary, and the joy of this world is temporary, and the life of this world is also temporary. But the true life and the true pleasure and the true joy is the joy of akhirah. And then he said, فَأَصْلِحِ الْأَنصَارَ وَالْمُهَاجِرَ. Oh Allah, fix the affairs of Ansar and Muhajira, mean improve their condition, improve their condition of life, so they may have good life in this world and a good life in hereafter. And in the other hadith, it is mentioned that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allahumma faghfir lil ansari wal muhajira, that oh Allah, forgive the Ansar and Muhajirin. Forgive them for any mistakes that they have made. So on the day of judgment, when they come to you, they are all forgiven and they enter into the paradise. Next, Babu Qawli Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Kun fi dunya ka'annaka gharib aw abir sabil. The statement of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that be in this world as if you are a stranger or if you are a traveler. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this hadith gave a choice that we all live in this world, but live in this world as if you were a stranger or if you were a traveler. In both cases, if you are a stranger, you don't really love a place as long as you're a stranger in that place. You only love a place when you have friends in there, and when you have family in there, and you have all the necessities of life in there. If you're a stranger in a place, you want to move on. You want to get to your destination. And the second is similar to this. Abiru sabil. Abiru sabil means the traveler. Be like a traveler. So when you are traveling, no matter how attractive is the rest area, you don't want to live in the rest area. You stop in the rest area. If you need to go use a restroom, you go use a restroom. If you need to buy something from Burger King, you buy something from Burger King, and then you move on. Nobody wants to live in the rest area. Even if the rest area is very beautiful, very attractive, you don't want to live in the rest area. This is the example given by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for the life in this world. That this world is like a rest area for me and you. We have come here. It is a transit period. We are transiting through this world. So our transit can be long, can be short. Some people, their transit time is maybe 10 years. Some people, their transit time is 30 years. Some people, their transit time is 50 years. Some people, their transit time is 70 years or even more. But it is a transitory place. No one comes here forever. No one lives here forever. And no one stays here forever. Everyone who has come here will go one day. Just like if we are connecting through an airport, that airport will be handling so many passengers. There are so many airports in America, they handle close to 1 million passengers a day. Some airports, they handle at least 250,000 passengers a day. So 250,000 passengers, they come and go. No one comes to the airport and says, oh, I'm going to start living here forever. So this world is a place of transit. We have come here and we know our time of transit in this world is limited. Whether it is 30 years, 50 years, 60 years or 80 years. Once that time is over and the time of departure has come, then we will leave. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Kun fi dunya ka'annaka gharib aw 'abiru sabil." Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu, he said that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam held him from his shoulder. So he put his hand on the shoulder of Abdullah ibn Umar, and then he said, "Kun fi dunya ka'annaka gharib aw 'abiru sabil." That be in this world as if you were a stranger or a traveler. This shows the importance of the message that he was delivering. And Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu was like a son to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was very young. He was a son of Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu. So as he was giving a nasiha and advice to a young man, to a son. So he put his hand on his shoulder and he said, "Kun fi dunya ka'annaka gharib aw 'abiru sabil." Be in this world as if you were a stranger or a traveler. So what did Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu say? He used to say, "Idha amsayta fala tantadhir as-sabah." He used to say to his students and to other people that when you have reached in the evening, don't wait for the morning. Don't expect that you will have a morning tomorrow. وَإِذَا أَصْبَحْتَ فَلَا تَنْتَظِرِ الْمَسَاءِ. And when you have entered into morning, don't wait for the evening. وَخُذْ مِنْ صِحَّتِكَ لِمَرَضِكَ. And take advantage of your health before the illness. وَمِنْ حَيَاتِكَ لِمَوْتِكَ. And take advantage of your life before death. So when we begin the morning, we should not try to postpone things to the evening. So when the time for Fajr comes, do it. When the time for Zohar comes, do it. When the time for Asr comes, do it. Don't say that I will do all my prayers when I come home in the evening. I will do all my 5 prayers once I come home in the evening. You never know whether you will be able to come home or not. Whether you will be able to live in the evening or not. Whether you will be alive till the evening or not. Only Allah knows. Same with evening. When you're going to your bed, make sure your mind is clear. You have no ill feelings for other people in your heart. And you have no bad feelings for others in your heart. Your heart is clear. Your mind is clear. And you have done everything in your power that was good. And you tried to avoid all the bad things to the best of your ability. And if you did some bad things, repent to Allah. Make istighfar. This is the easiest way to ask Allah for forgiveness. Make istighfar. Say, "Oh Allah, I did make mistakes during the daytime. I did make mistakes today. I seek your forgiveness. So please forgive me." At least if you have done that and you went to sleep and your soul was withheld, you never woke up next morning, at least you can say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I did make tawbah and I did make istighfar. So the next 2 things he said, وَخُذْ مِنْ صِحَّتِكَ لِمَرَضِكَ. Benefit from your good health before you get occupied with illness. Before you start having aches in your body. Before you start having diseases in your body. So take advantage of your good health and do the things that Allah wants you to do. Do the good things. Do your prayers. Do your fasting. Do your hajj. Do your umrah. Do the help of other people. Before the time comes that your body doesn't allow you to do it. And it happens. When you have some illness or some disease, you want to do things, but you can't do it. A few weeks ago, someone shared a story with me. There's a man in, I believe, Bahrain or Qatar. A sheikh went to visit him from Saudi Arabia. That man, he has paralysis. He cannot move. He cannot move his hands, he cannot move his legs, he cannot do anything. All he can do, he can speak, he can see. So his head is working, he can think, he can hear, he can speak. But he cannot walk, he cannot move, he cannot do anything. He cannot even eat on his own. So when the Shaykh went to visit him as ayada, sick visit, the Shaykh asked him, what is that you want to do if you had good health? If Allah gave you the ability to walk and to move and to do things, what is the first thing and what is the thing that you would like to do the most? He started crying. He had tears in his eyes. He said, Wallahi, I swear by Allah, if Allah gave me the power to walk and to make moves, the first thing and the most thing that I would do, I would pray. I would offer the salah the way every Muslim does. And in that condition, he can't. Although he's doing his salah in his own bed, as in the state of lying, but he cannot stand, he cannot sit, he cannot make sujood, he cannot make ruku. All of those things are not possible for him. But he said, if Allah gave me this, then I will do this. This is the desire that is in my heart. So the Shaykh started crying as well. That this man, he is going through this affliction and this illness in his life. And the only desire he has now, if he regains the good health, is to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the kind, and this man is a young man, not even an old man. So we should have this desire in our heart that as we're enjoying the good health that Allah has bestowed upon us, we should take advantage of this, we should benefit from it, and we should do whatever we can to obey the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any questions? Next week, I will not be here. We'll try to make arrangements, inshallah, to have this dars continued by another person. In any case, when I return, inshallah, after 2 weeks, we will have the dars after Salatul Maghrib. So in either case, even if it happens next week, inshallah, and hopefully it will happen after Salatul Maghrib. And so between Salatul Maghrib and Salatul Isha, we will have the dars and we will have the dinner. Because Salatul Isha next Friday will be around 8:45. So it will be too late to do it after Salatul Isha, inshallah. Jazakumullah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك. اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد أفضل صلواتك بعدد معلوماتك. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا من الراشدين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. جزاكم.
Is it the batteries on that one?